Right, so we are back with Wednesdays with Brent and Lee. This is the first time you've been to my channel. My name is Lee Bricky, and on this channel we talk everything real estate in Palm Beach County, the Treasure Coast, and sometimes all of Florida. And I'm joined this week with my good friend Brent Starts from Unitas Lending, who is the best mortgage broker in the United States, in my opinion, right, Brent?
That's awesome.
All
Likewise,
right.
Lee. Love working with you.
All right. Mike's a little low.
Okay.
Get it close to you.
All right, we'll do it.
All
Eat
right.
the
So
mic.
people can hear you, man. They need
All
to
right.
hear you. All right. So today we have a power-packed show for you. We're going to give you a little update on what's happening with the market, like we always do. Then we're going to talk about what is going on in this crazy economy we live in right now with inflation. Some new numbers have come out on the inflation numbers, and we're going to go over that with you and get Brent's opinion. We're also going to talk to you about opportunities in the market because there are lots of opportunities right now. And we're going to finish it off by telling you why Florida is a awesome real estate market right now, and why right now we feel it's the best time to buy, sell, or get investment real estate in the state. And we're going to show you some other people that think the same thing, because if you read the thumbnail coming out today, it's all about what's going on in the news and the media. And, you know, the news and the media, they do their job and what they're supposed to do. But I think there's a lot of fear being spread out there. It's not that, you know, things are not tough right now, because they are. I know a lot of people are having a tough time and paying their bills and buying food and buying gas. But the real estate market is strong and it's continuing to move. And if you're interested in purchasing real estate, especially in states like Florida, which is the #1 state right now for people to move to, you don't want to be sitting on the sidelines right now because rates are high or you think prices might come down. And we're going to show you a lot of things that should convince you that that's not going to happen, and not going to happen for a long time. And anytime you hear the media talking about, you know, real estate crashes, or, you know, the market is sliding back, or we could see, you know, inflation or stagflation destroy the real estate market, that is something that I don't think we're going to see. So let's get into it a little bit and just kind of show you what's going on, because, you know, you would think that we're in summertime and the market, this is usually, Brent, when the market starts to slow down a little bit.
Right.
So I look at this every day. This is my market pulse. And basically this shows me a 7-day average of properties on the market for my entire MLS, which is Port St. Lucie, St. Lucie County, all the way to Miami, which is Dade County. And right now you can see the 7-day average of listings is 2,653. But if you take the under contract of 1,267 and put that with the pending, you're basically, you know, getting close to that number. So, you know, we have 100 expired listings, 295 coming soon listings, 172 listings canceled. We had 1,421 listings close over the last 7 days. So going back to this again, if this is the first time you've seen it, the active and under contract and pending is really what we're looking at here, because active and under contract and pending is basically the same thing. It means it's under contract on the MLS. So you take these two numbers and you add them together, and then you look at this number. This number needs to be 3 times what those two numbers together are to have a balanced market. So we're a long ways from that. And, you know, you see this absorption rate right now, that's 13 days. That means the average time for all of the counties from Dade to St. Lucie to for a house to stay on the market is 13
Mhm.
days. So, before COVID, if we were on the market for 30 days, that was, considered a average time to be on the market. I mean, it was nothing to see a house sit 30 to 60 days. Now, if it's on the market for more than a week, there's something wrong with it. So,
Right.
so
Normal's about 3 months. Nationwide, it's even more than 3 months.
right, right,
Rural areas, they tend to sit a little more as well. Yeah.
right. So that's where we're sitting right now. So numbers aren't changing much. So we'll keep giving this information, but it looks like we're still, pushing strong in Florida as far as housing prices and people moving here. And we're going to explain a little bit of what that is to you, why that's happening. So let's get into this. Let's talk about the consumer price index, Brent.
Mm,
Here
yeah.
it is. Came out
Month
this week.
Yeah, month over month, 1.3%. So, they were anticipating 1.1%, which around 13% annualized, and at 1.3, I think we're at 15.6% annualized inflation. And so, the other numbers that came out were the raw goods or raw materials inflation. That was also higher than expected at 0.7, and it was expected to come in at 0.5. So it looks like from those figures, and that's what made rates pop up, earlier on this week late last week when those numbers came out, because it looked like inflation was still roaring, and the Fed might have to take more severe action, and that was backed off by the appearance of a recession, coming into play.
Right.
And so it's balancing those two stories. Those two stories are the ones we need to watch. Inflation increasing, certainly that'll increase rates. In as far as a recession, any conversation when that gets the news cycle and dominates the news cycle, then you're going to see rates drop.
Right. So 9.1% over year. That's over in June. That's a 40-year high.
Right.
Right. So we haven't seen this kind of inflation in 40 years. So
long time.
What do you think's going to get us out of this? I was watching Ed Milet today and Dean Graziosi, both motivational speakers. They were talking about this, and they feel we're gonna be in this for a little while. Average recession lasts for 18 months, so we're going to feel the pain for a little bit on this, Brent. What do you think about that?
I think so too. I think, we're going to feel it because, we're starting to see, evidence of people, in the conversations you have with everyday folks, the middle class getting squeezed. They're the ones that really feel inflation. They're the ones that, feel it at the gas pump. And my heart goes out to them because it is difficult to raise a family in this when we're paying $70 for a bag of groceries,
Right.
It's a shocker, it's like, that really hits people. And so people start spending less, and then you start to see layoffs and slowdowns, and it reduces demand. And that's the whole idea of raising interest rates. And mortgages at one point had doubled, literally doubled, from, the high twos. We're knocking it on 6% or a little above, actually, a few weeks ago, about 2.5 weeks ago. Interest rates and mortgages were, hovering right around 6%, give or take, depending on, credit profile and all that. And so really the talk of inflation, the talk of increased rates and the Fed raising the Fed funds rates is fully built into the mortgage market interest rates right now. And so if you look at the last time what they had to do to whip inflation, I remember the whip inflation now buttons when I was a kid in the 70s. And it was kind of a promo that they had running. They had little buttons everywhere. People actually wear them. They doubled mortgage rates at that point in time by raising the Fed funds rate, and similar thing. You saw a slowdown. So we're seeing definitely, we're not seeing 30 offers on a property now. We're seeing what, Lee? What are you seeing right now as far as properties coming on the market?
Depends on the property, but Palm Beach County, I mean, if it's a nice property, we're seeing at least 3 to 5 offers on it within a couple of days.
That's what we're seeing. The demand hasn't changed.
I think I think the 13-day thing is just because it takes time to get the listing up you know, a lot of people are doing what I just did today. We're doing, they're doing, a lot of agents are doing coming soon, so that the listing can sit out there for a few days, and then you can knock it out in a 2 or 3 day period. So
Yeah,
we have
with,
some
multiple
people
offers.
on saying hello. Tony's on, John's on. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight. If you're on watching right now, tell us where you're coming from. I know where they're coming from. I sold them their house. So
That's great.
But yeah, tell us where you're coming from and where you're watching from. Would love to know where you're watching from. So drop that in the comments. So so Brent, you know, I think that 13 days, you know, a lot of that's just, you know, coming soon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Costas Pappas is coming from Virginia. All right.
All right.
All right.
Come in New Jersey, Virginia,
Virginia,
New
yeah.
York, Pennsylvania, Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's talk. I got a screen loaded up here, Brent, for you.
Okay.
So buyers' purchasing power. So we'll talk about all the bad news first.
Yeah,
I mean, about the good stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll tell
let
you what.
talk about the bad news. I don't want to tell anybody things bad. I just want to be the bearer of good news. You be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, well, you know, I thought this would be a great graphic to put up so people can actually put a number to interest rates. You know, if you're looking for, you know, across the top, you see a $440,000 loan amount, 420, 400, and so on. So you can kind of pick a number as far as where you think your mortgage rate, or amount might be. And then you can see a corresponding payment below it with each of the interest rates listed on the left-hand side. So, you know, you really get a good feel for what's, you know, a $440,000 loan at 6.25, where rates were about 2.5 weeks ago. Now, you know, that same profile, credit profiles down around 5.5 to 5.75 with a similar credit profile. So you're seeing, you know, it's basically a $200 savings. You know, I think it's really helpful to see, you know, interest rates do, you know, affect and the large on the macro scale, the affordability, right? So, you know, if you're on the bubble and you're really close as far as qualifying, $200 a month in payment sometimes take you over the edge, and you no longer qualify for that $440,000 loan. But, you know, in the big scheme of things, I mean, if you're looking at, you know, our interest rate at, you know, half point higher, you kind of get a feel for what the real difference is in dollars and cents. And then, you know, if you're looking at a couple $100 over the course of the year, you know, looking at $2,400, $2,500 over the course of the year by paying a higher rate right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's important to, you know, kind of see the forest through the trees, right? There's a big story here that, you know, hey, overall, what do we think, you know, appreciation is going to be? What are the experts all saying? And I think you have a graphic possibly tonight, even, that all the different, you know, entities that estimate this, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and, you know, CoreLogic and all those. I think, you know, everyone's saying it's still going to be a really strong year nationally. And kind of the unique circumstance that we have here in Florida, where it's the number one state people are migrating to, demand is, especially high compared to other areas of the country, you know, so we might anticipate slightly higher. So I think, you know, you kind of look at a worst case scenario, look at even the lowest depreciation, what some of the experts are saying, because of the supply and demand issue. And then look at, you know, hey, where do you think you're going to be in that house? You know, I tell people right now, I mean, if you're looking at what rents are doing now, Lee, I talked to someone today and they said, you know, hey, you know, yeah, you know, rates are higher, but I still want to buy a house because what's my option? I have to rent. I want to live in Florida, you know what I mean? And rents are way up and will continue to go up, you know? So you're going to pay a mortgage, you can pay your own or somebody else's, basically is what he came to the conclusion of. And so I thought this graphic would be a really good indicator. You know, people can actually see the dollars and cents, what it means.
Here's a good question, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
Foreclosures are up 700%. Mortgage apps down. Money printing all-time high. Home prices are 8.5 medium income as 2008, and experts said prices will be down significantly in the 6 to 12 months. We're going to talk about all this, Joseph. We're going to answer every single one of your questions in just a minute, because those are good questions, and that's something that people are thinking right now. And, you know, you're getting a lot of this fed to you from the news that, you know, we could be looking at this, situation like a 2008 situation. So we're going to cover that for you. But getting back to what Brent was saying on the mortgage prices. So, you know, I have a lot of clients right now that are, you know, well, I don't want to drive to Port St. Lucie. I want to live in West Palm Beach, or I don't want, you know, I don't want to live in a townhome. I want to live in a house. And, you know, here's the deal on that. The real estate market, and we're going to prove that to you every single week here, and we're going to keep saying it. And we're not just saying that because we don't want, I'm in real estate and I want to sell you a house. That has nothing to do with it. I'm helping people every single day in emails and that, you know, send me emails asking me questions, calling Brent, asking him questions. We're here to help, but we're just going to give you the boots on the ground every single day, selling real estate here in South Florida. And, you know, I've got agents all over the state that are, excuse me, selling real estate also. So the market is not going to stop in Florida in any time soon. There's no way. And so being picky and not owning a house right now is killing you. It really is, because you're getting priced out of the market. If you right now can only afford a townhome or a home in a townhome in West Palm Beach or Palm Beach County or wherever you're at, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, or you want a single family home and you can't afford to be in Palm Beach County, you know, a year from now, you're not going to be able to afford to be in Palm Beach County either. And 2 years from there, you won't be able to afford to be in Palm Beach County either. But here's the thing to think about, and this is on the investment side of real estate, and this is something that I try to explain to buyers and sellers and investment and people looking to get in investment real estate. Look for the market, and this is what I'm telling my son up in Orlando right now. Let's find the market that has the least expensive prices, but is close to where everyone works, because that's where your most equity is going to be gained. So if you want to live in, say, you know, Palm Beach County, let's say you want to live in, you know, Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens. If you're in a market like Port St. Lucie, where it's being built out and new construction is pushing that market. Here's the thing. You don't have much new construction in Palm Beach County, but you have a whole lot of new construction in Port St. Lucie. And so if you're in a market where, even if the taxes are a little higher, they're 1.6 in Palm Beach County, they're 2.2 and up in Port St. Lucie. But if you're looking to be in a bigger house and have more home, you want to be in a market that's growing the fastest, because you're going to make the most equity. So if you have to drive 30, 45 minutes to work, welcome to every city in the United States. There's more than that. I mean, this is, I mean, it's just the way it is. If I have to drive I drive every single day to at least 3 times a week to Port St. Lucie. I have a listing coming up in Delray. I have one coming up in West Palm Beach. I mean, the Delray listing for me, if I get caught in traffic at 5 o'clock, I mean, that's an hour and a half drive for me. So I'm constantly on the road driving. And, you know, I would way rather drive to Port St. Lucie than the Delray to show property or to work clients. But it is what it is, just because if I'm going north, I have less traffic than I do have going south. So my drive's a lot easier on me, and I don't have to pay as much attention to the road. And I can listen to something good on, you know, a book or something like that and pass the time. Mileage, the amount of time it takes you is a lot less than it would be, say, if you're going into traffic. Like, let's use Mentos out there, Brent. What's it called?
Westlake.
Westlake. Right. Okay. Westlake has 2 ways in, 2 ways out.
Out in Loxahatchee.
Boulevard. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I leave the house right here where I'm at in Palm Beach in Jupiter. it takes me 45 minutes minimum to get out there. If there's traffic in the afternoon, it's a complete nightmare. If somebody breaks down on the road or there's a car accident on North Lake Boulevard, you're done. I mean, you could be sitting in traffic for 2 hours. Port St. Lucie, I have two ways to get there. I can take the Turnpike or I-95. So I just hit my Google, figure out if there's any accidents, and I take the one that's best for my ride. So, sometimes you need to drive. And if you're looking for investment real estate, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, where can I make the most equity? Because anything you buy right now, you're going to buy at top dollar. So there's not going to be a whole lot of equity being made. So, yeah, here you go. I mean, there you go. I used to drive DC to Alexandria, 12 miles, took me 45 to 60 minutes driving. Exactly. I mean, California is the same way. I grew up in Texas and Houston, same thing. Brent was in California, same thing. Yeah. It's terrible. John, I know he's on. He was up in NYPD, up in New York. I mean, getting out of that city is a nightmare. So, yeah. I
know people driving
a little bit, but hey, if you're not owning a home right now, you need to get in the market. And if you're looking to buy investment real estate, you're not going to want to wait. So, so here is expectations. Potential household wealth, right? Based on appreciation. This is a survey put together by, all different sources of experts, but they're looking, if you bought a house in January of 2022 for $390,000, look at where you're at. This is nationwide. Now, I would say there are markets out there that are going to take a hit, Brent, wouldn't you?
I would too. That's what we need to remember. Real estate is very localized. Even in Florida, even in the city to city, adjacent cities can be different because where people, where the demand is and where the supply is, and so, but this gives you some type of gauge nationally what you're looking at.
Right.
There's areas that are going to get hurt. There's no question. I mean, they're sensitive to layoffs and industries.
We're starting to see price drops in certain markets, and markets that were really expensive, like California. We're starting to see price drops, real price drops. Not, hey, I priced my house $800,000, $900,000, and it's worth $720,000. I mean, that's what we're dealing with a lot of here. So going from that, here's something else that's happening. Home builders cancellation rates are increasing. Now, it's a glass half empty or glass half full. If I'm buying a home right now, this is good news for me, right, Brent?
Well, I think so too. If you look at the last time it spiked up like that, when was it? March, April of 2020.
Yep.
A lot of fear, right?
During COVID.
Okay, and what happened to real estate values after that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I was watching the market over COVID when we were in the shutdowns. And the thing that I noticed, and we had probably 12 to 15 clients working right then, Brent, and it all just shut down. And I remember going on the MLS every day and seeing new construction continuing to sell. People are buying it from their houses.
Right.
And I kept telling my clients, hey, I don't think that we're going to come out of this real estate market less. And everybody thought, hey, this is another 2008, but the government started pumping money into the economy and it kept everything going. And so, that's that spike we're seeing here. But this right here means you can negotiate with a new home builder. And I keep promise you to put a video out, guys. And I promise you, I'm going to answer a lot of questions that people have about who's the best builder, who are the worst builders, where some opportunities are in buying with builders, some negotiation opportunities that can happen. Because, if you look at this number here, one of the things that if you sell your own home in Florida, right, then you're going to pay the title fees, right? So you're paying the cost of the title insurance, right? And that can be anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on the price house, So if you're buying from a builder, they're making you pay title. Now, what they're doing is they give you a money, concessions to finance with them. But their financing always isn't the best. And some people are paying cash and they really don't need that money. So, not promising you this could happen, but things like this say, hey, listen, I can go in and negotiate a little bit. Hey, maybe,
Right.
I'm paying cash. So maybe you pay the title fees or those are negotiations you can start having now. There's a lot of these builders weren't allowing investors to purchase homes. That might be coming an opportunity for investors in communities where they can't buy a home. The right agent, you call that agent, they go in, talk to the right person, and you end up being able to, invest in a home in a community where they're not letting people walk through the door and invest.
And 25% of all homes are being sold to investors right now.
Exactly.
And then the investors, they know that real estate, goes through cycles. And I don't think we're going to see the appreciation we saw in the last 2 years. And frankly, I prefer not to see it because I'd rather see a more balanced market. You know what I mean? It's not sustainable. And so there's no question.
And it hurts people. The price is going up this much and it hurts people. It pushes so many people out of the market.
That's right. And, I talked to a landlord today, and he says that he was refinancing his home to buy more property, and he said, rents are going up. I'm just keeping everything right now. I'm a buyer because the rents we can get are just because there's not enough homes. I just want to own the asset. And so, some of the questions that someone was asking a bit ago, it's you just compare. I think that the wise thing to do is to first be fully informed. Hey, what's the rental market and what's the market to own, and then look at your commute, things like that, and where you can live and where you can afford to buy. Everyone's situation is different, but as far as statistically and with the actual numbers right now, you can own for what you'd pay rent for right now, and still in Florida. That's still, it's incredible. If someone hears that in California, anyone listening from California, you can actually buy a home and rent it for your payment. That's unheard of there.
Exactly. So this is what you were talking about. This is from David Ramsey. So I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. I know you are, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave's been, this guy's pretty much probably one of the smartest guys in finances. I mean, he'll get you debt free fast if you subscribe to his programs. So he says right now the best time to buy houses in the next 5 years. Here's why. Prices are not going to go down. Some of you are saying, well, I'm going to wait for prices to come down. You're not going to get them. They're not coming down. Here's why Dave says that. Supply right now in the United States, let's see, in 2008 was 3.6 million. There's 800,000 homes on the market right now. So for the earlier Joseph, 2008 was a buyer's market. We're in a really hard pressed seller's market right now. And what happened, and Brent can tell you what fueled that market. We've talked about it before, not to go into a lot of it now, was
bad
stated
loans.
Income.
Oh, stated income, stated assets, stated everything. You know what I mean? You had a pulse, you can get 100% financing, 0 down, with a 580 FICO score. I saw those programs. And so that's someone with really difficult credit profile, getting a home for nothing down and stating their income. In other words, writing on, you need to make 10,000 a month. And, I clean houses and, my husband mows lawns for a living, that type of thing. And you write $10,000
Guy mow my lawn had 7 houses. I bring it up all the time.
That's crazy.
So 2.1 million home starts in 2008, 1.38 million right now in 2022. They say they need to increase that by 300% in new homes to get it to a balanced market. Foreclosures were all at time highs in 2008. They're non-existent now. You won't see a foreclosure. It won't hit the market. There are foreclosures happening right now, obviously, with these rates going up. The inflation going up right now. It's hurting some people. But those
Mhm.
homes are able to get out of those homes before the bank ever gets its hands on them.
Certainly in
So
Florida, I noticed his comment earlier that, foreclosures up 700%. And that, I would be really curious to see where that is, because right
right,
now, I
me
mean,
too.
you put on the market now, it's gone in Florida. And
Yeah.
so nationally, there might be areas where
There's
seeing
some
that.
foreclosures nationally, but they're in the non-existent market pretty much. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Joseph, I'd like to know where you got that number
Yeah.
700% because they're trying to freak you out if
Yeah.
they're
And
telling you that.
compare it to
I'm
what
telling
time.
you, I couldn't find it for. I have real estate investors texting me every day. I'm like, dude, if I could find a property that you're looking for, I'd buy it myself. I'm not selling it to you.
Well, during
I mean,
COVID, you
yeah,
couldn't foreclose on people, you know.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? So if we're comparing to a time where you couldn't even do it,
And
so
I have a client that we both have a client that we're about to sell his house, and he still owes some money on his forbearance. They just stuck it on the end for him.
right.
So banks don't want to foreclose.
They
They
do not.
don't ever want to be happening. I mean, 2008 they foreclosed on all of Port St. Lucie. It destroyed them. They
Right.
don't ever want to foreclose on people. So demand 5 million more buyers, millennials. We're going to show you a graph on that. 12 million more households being formed and investors buying 25% of all homes.
Mhm.
So
And
again,
households being formed, Lee, because I looked like
yeah,
at the month to month numbers, there were months where homes, households were um, collapsing. In other words, you had kids moving back in with their parents and things like that during COVID.
mhm,
And so now there's kind of a little bit of a pin-up demand there too. That's why that figure is accelerating even more month to month
right.
as the nation started to open back up.
Mm. Hey, talk a little bit since we're on that about FHA and VA loans, and also, one of the I got a call yesterday from a client who's been watching our show, and he asked me about. He's like, "Hey, I heard that I could do a stated income." And I said, "Well, it's not stated income; it's
Mm,
bank statements."
right.
Talk a little bit about, you know, because here's the deal. There's some great changes in FHA. We went over those last week. If you didn't see that video, go back and watch it. But FHA's got some great things happening. I believe, especially right now, there's some deals we can put together in FHA.
Hmm.
The stuff that you're seeing the most, where I'm seeing, I mean, I could be wrong, but where I mean, the bidding wars are at the top of the market right now. Like, they're in the higher stuff. Like, I would say not FHA.
Right.
I think that there's some opportunities coming available for FHA right now. There's some VAs. Obviously, we're doing VA deals again, but talk about this bank statement loan, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of entrepreneurs and a lot more than there used to be. And real estate agents dealing with direct lenders don't know about this stuff. And that was the call today, because he actually talked to a realtor that I'm friends with, that I've done deals with, and he told him it wasn't available. So tell us about that.
Yeah, the way those loans work, they're bank statement loans, so there is some documentation for income. It's for self-employed individuals that have maybe bank deposits that to $12,000-15,000 a month. The way that's done is we know that there's cash flow there. We realize that business owners do have discretionary expenses. Sometimes they take those expenses, sometimes they don't. So there's so they don't pay as much in taxes as some folks do that are wage-based earners. And so what we do is we have their accountant has to write a letter what their expense ratio is, and what's typical in that business, and it has to make sense. If some industries are, there's high cost of goods. Building a home, obviously, there's a cost of goods there. That's excessive, extreme. But some service industries, you might have a 10% expense ratio. So we can use 90% in that situation where it's a 10% expense ratio in a business typically. Then we can use 90% of their gross deposits over 12 or 24 months. Those programs typically require a larger down payment based on, and that's driven by the FICO score. So if you have really good credit and you've shown that you run a business successfully, and maybe your tax returns don't look all that great, a lot of times we can use the bank statements and look at those deposits without the use of tax returns.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
your interest rate's going to be higher, but you're
Right.
getting in the market, and That's always that for the last few, since 2008, it's been almost impossible for a self-employed person to buy a house without showing a tax return and getting hammered.
Yeah, and a lot of the FHA, they're lightening up the with the COVID things, or they're lightening up people that have a down income year, that type of thing. Some of those overlays were removed as well, so a little easier. They're making it a little easier to get into a home now. Yeah.
All right, so let's look at this, because this is a great slide right here. So just shows you where all this is coming from, because a lot of people are like, where are all these people coming from that are buying houses? And it's really, you look here, Generation Z, right? So this is my son, 20 to 24, right? So now he's got a almost 6-figure job. And then you see millennials, right? So 25 to 29 and 30 to 34. So these jobs, there's a lot of jobs out there. This is my concern with inflation right now, Brent, is that, I'm kind of a pragmatic guy. I don't see how they're going to get inflation under control without lowering gas prices, right, with this many jobs on the market. And in Florida, we're going to show you some numbers in a minute on Miami that are going to blow your mind, but there are some high paying jobs in this state. I mean, right, there's people moving here making real money, and they're millennials, right, and so they're buying houses, and
the ability to work remote,
and the ability to work remote. That's another one, right? Exactly.
If you can work remote, do you want to live in the smog in the city and drive traffic, or do you want to sit at the beach in Florida? You know what I mean? It's a very different experience for sure.
Right. So here's another thing to tell you. I mean, real estate market is continuing to go. New NAR studies, international buyers are back. So and where are they coming? Look here. NAR annual report, 1 in 4, 24% of international buyers are choosing Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So moving here is where international buyers are coming. So it's just it just continues. And then more buyers looking outside their metro area. 1 out of 3, which is 32.6%, people doing home searches in Redfin look beyond their metro area, and the 4 of their top 10 preferred destinations are in Florida. So I kept this. So let's go through this. So a record 32.6% of Redfin searchers, so this is redfin.com, searching homes, is in Florida, right? They're moving to Florida. Miami was number 1 with 33%. Tampa's number 2, right? So Cape Coral's number 6, and North Point is number 8. And you can see where they're coming from New York, and then Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Also, San Francisco and San Jose cost more than $1.5 million. And at today's mortgage rates, you have sky high monthly payments. So that's why we're seeing a lot of people, they're getting out of California right now. They can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is companies giving employees, like Brent was saying, permanent flexibility to work remotely is really pushing people to the least inexpensive place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and a preferred tax scenario as well, as far as income tax.
And then this is another good. The spike in this is what we were talking about. The spike in mortgage rates have priced some buyers out of the market, but has also helped ease competition and curb bidding wars. So this is a good thing. So that's a good thing. And rates are going to come down, guys. Right, Brent?
Eventually,
they're going to come back down. They're not going to go back down to 2.5%, but they might come back down in the 3s, and they're for sure going to be in the 4s, because that's historically over the last 10 years where we were.
Well,
so a lot of buyers who kept, go ahead.
Inflation was a story for the last 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And so it was, you couldn't turn on the TV without hearing about it. And then the Fed needed to step in, which I'm glad they finally did. I think it was a little late, actually, but now they stepped in strong. And they were for a second there, they had a 1% hike in the Fed funds rate on the table, and I think we're back to 0.75% in the next meeting next week. But that'd be the first time in over 40 years since that's happened. And so they're taking it seriously, and I think the market likes that they're taking it seriously, because mortgage rates have essentially doubled, and it has slowed the feeding frenzy. And that was actually I think it was a healthy thing. I'm glad they did it.
A healthy thing.
We have to.
It says right here, Jerry, we're going to get to you in a minute, brother. So hang on, okay? A lot of buyers who kept getting outbidded in peak markets are now getting offers accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, they're able to use FHA loans. So there we are.
Right.
So smaller down payments and appraisal contingency. So that's a good thing for people. If we can get back to that, we're at least, hey, before COVID, we were still, in bidding wars in Florida, but you could get an FHA deal done, so that was a good thing. Let's talk to Jerry here, because he's worried. And then Joseph will answer your question. Okay. Jerry, hi, Lee, what's the current status on house builds in Tulare? Are builders slowing down the process? Are they delaying builds phase 2 and 3 in clubhouses? No, Jerry, they're not. And Brent and I were talking about that today, that we're in June and seeing numbers like we're seeing. It's actually the home sales are actually picking up in Florida right now, or leveled out at least. So some markets are picking up, some markets are leveled out. September third quarter, man, that's the biggest for Florida. That's biggest for real estate. So I think we're going to see. We could get back into a frenzy, Brent. Yeah. I don't know, but Jerry, things are going to keep moving along like they are. These new construction, they're offering, incentives and different, closing packages, but they're still building, they're still pushing out. So everything's moving forward, and especially in Tulare, because they're a great buy in there, and Mattamy does a great job, and they have a lot of money. They're going ahead and moving forward with all their new launches, with all their new communities. So we'll see Cadence pop up real soon. That's going to be a great opportunity for first time buyers, or buyers that want to get into something, in the 3s. It might be the high 3s, but it'll still be the 3s. So.
And it is slowing down from where it was. You got to remember where we were, though. You know what I mean? It's, if we never see anything like it. So getting somewhat closer to normal anyway. It's still a very hot market, but it's moving towards normalization, which is good. Yeah,
Joseph, man, this guy's out of his mind. You'll never see mortgage rates hit 10%. Ever. Yeah. No one's that stupid. There's some dumb people out there right now, but they're not that dumb. The real estate market's pushing the keeping us alive right now in this country. They're not going to let it. Jay Powell's not going to let the real estate market hit sink. And he's not going to let the economy go into stagflation either. I don't see that.
I think that, we hear things like that too. And I think that, we have to look at, and compare, what happened in the 70s and 80s to, it was a little different, and now we've got a situation where the interest rates were doubled. It really causes the same type of effect, if you will, and that already happened. Last 2.5 weeks, we've seen rates starting to fall back down. So we were up over, actually a tick over 6%. And now like I say, with the same credit profile, we're in the mid 5s again. So, I think, you can only push it so far, and just what they've already done. We've had 2 consecutive quarters with negative GDP, gross domestic product. The economy slowing down in 2 successive quarters, which for most people, and by definition, that's a recession. And so, they've got to watch that balance. It is something they need to take care seriously. The inflation is a problem. We've pumped too many dollars into the economy. But globally, that all central banks did the same thing, and so just everyone got more dollars, and they're just worth less. So we'll see. But I think and it's too early to call it as over as far as higher rates. But certainly we're seeing a reprieve here in the last 2.5 weeks. But we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, Joseph says you should watch the video for laughs. This valuetainment. I'll add that to my flat Earth videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's see what. All right. So can you explain why buyers cannot use conventional mortgage when trying to buy in Century Village? I'll let Brent, that's you.
Sure, I'll take care of that one. You can't get a what's called a condo cert approved. In other words, it's not just you that needs, as the buyer, that needs to be approved. The condominium complex needs to be approved. And in Century Village, you just have way too many investors. The maximum is 50%. The other things they look at, commercial uses of any of the units, they look at over 15% delinquency in the condo association fees. There's a number of things they look at, and so in Century Village specifically, you'll notice the prices are much lower in Century Village than surrounding complexes, and it's primarily due to the number of investors and that own in that particular development. And what happens is, in the logic behind that, the way the lender views that is, hey, if you lose your job, hey, honey, we have the second home down in Century Village, and we want to go, what mortgage do you want to pay? We can only pay our primary or the investment in Century Village. Well, we're gonna pay our primary mortgage. That's the logic behind it. That's a great question. So condo certs it's called warrantable condos. In other words, they need to be warranted or accepted by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. That's the problem there.
So, and since we're on this, Brent, explain to everyone, because a few years ago you couldn't buy a condo at all. Now you can,
right,
with a FHA mortgage. So another thing is, I want to throw this in there. Condos in Century Village are right around $100,000. No one will write a loan for that anyway, so they won't give you a mortgage on that. But there is some condos that are 230, 250. So you can get a mortgage on those, especially if you're conventional. But one of the things that I'm seeing right now is, so we have a listing on a condo right now that I'm partnered on with my buddy Ray. And I put the video up on my site so you can take a look at it. But that condo has a 1 year waiting time to be able to rent it. So that pushes investors away. So Mattamy Homes has done that. So one of the things, Jerry, you can be happy about is that investors can't get into your neighborhood. If you bought in Manderley, if you bought in Emory, you can't rent those places for at least a year. So that keeps the investors out, because they don't want to buy property and have to sit on it for a year. I'm sure some people get creative, but but they're looking at that property as a long-term, property for themselves. But with these condos, a lot of them are used for Airbnb, especially like around Jupiter and places like this. So you're not going to be able to, there's so many renters in there and they rent them so frequently, it makes it hard for the loan. But where these condo associations, Brent, are doing 1 year, no rental, explain how that can be a big help and how it's worth someone, giving you a call and saying, hey, let's in a case like this would go FHA. So and by the way, there's a ton of them on the market now. There's a ton of stuff for 350 and under on the market right now, and it's nice. The one I have right now with Ray is completely upgraded top to bottom. So talk about how that can help and how you can do like a spot spot check on that.
Be happy to. Yeah. The market's changed a lot in Florida because of the demand we've been talking about tonight. And it's, we had, conventional, that's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They're the ones we were talking about getting the warrantable condo. FHA used to have the whole development approved, and the approval process was lengthy. Very few condominiums could qualify for it after the 2008, debacle and what happened there with the bad loans. And so there were overlays for years and years, Lee. As you know, it was almost impossible to get a loan in a condominium in Florida. And so all those overlays, we never had them, but most companies had them, where they had overlays where they wouldn't even do loans essentially without a 30% down payment. So all those overlays are off right now as far as our investors. Pretty much all of them have them entirely removed. But not only that, but FHA no longer requires the entire development to go through this lengthy process. They can do what's called a spot approval. In other words, very similar to the warrantable condo questionnaire that we see for conventional loans, and we can get one unit approved. We did one of the first loans actually once that was approved about a year and a half ago is when it first went through, and we were able to get somebody into a home before. Now the market's gone way up in that condominium complex because FHA loans were approved in it. And we did the first one in the large complex there. She bought it for $216, and I think, oh my goodness, it's worth probably close to $400,000 now. It's because the financing drove the market, right? Because now it was affordable.
But I think there's some opportunities out there. And, if you find a real estate agent like me or a broker like Brent, we'll put, I'll put my wife on it, and the thing to do is, find them on the MLS that you like. And then, we can, run the numbers on it and see what happens, see what the lender says, put it in for a DU approval. Will that work, Brent?
That sure will. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you got to put it in for explain the DU so that everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, DU is desktop underwriters. What it stands for, it's Fannie Mae's computer profile that to consider loans, and the best loans will be approved that way through DU. It requires a 620 FICO score minimum, but once you have that approval, you're good to go. And then we just knock out all the conditions with that. But it's on FHA, we can actually get refer eligible, and what that means is we can actually do a manual underwrite. So it actually goes to a human being that actually looks at the entire file. And that doesn't, so a denial doesn't necessarily mean, or refer doesn't mean it's not doable. We might be able to do it FHA as well as a second option.
Right. But you can put it in and we can work everything before they even have to go look at the property. I mean, make sure that that's a property that they can buy. Mm-hmm. Or we can go look at it, and we can figure things out in the front end. We can ask for books and things like that. We can take a good solid look at the condo before we ever go look at it, though.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes you can get some preliminary information that gives you a really good idea as to where it's going to be approved and where if it's not. Yeah.
Right. So as we've shown you, Florida is a great market right now. Buyers, sellers, investors, it's a great market right now. And there isn't a tremendous amount. Like we have a listing, and we just put a coming soon in Manderley. It may be already sold, but we'll have another one coming up if it is with a pool. But that's going to get a pool home's going to get multiple offers. You can guarantee it. And but there's only a few houses in there, and one of them I think there's 3 now with ours, and one of them is really overpriced, so they're just not going to sell it. I mean, it's just not that market anymore. So, and I'll say it again on this call. I say it every week. If you're a seller and you're selling your property, make sure your agent puts your property on the market at market price, or just a tad under even won't hurt you, because if you have a nice property and it's something that's upgraded and, fairly new roofs, you have within the last, I'd say, 10 years, the roof's on, where you're not going to get crushed by insurance, then your house is going to sell, and you're the best money is going to come when you put your house on the market and it's not overpriced, because you'll get multiple offers then and let that price run up. And if you don't get multiple offers, and you're at market price, then hey, you're getting market price, which, you know, be happy with that, because you're making a lot of money. If you've had that house for 6 months, there's equity in it.
Absolutely.
So that's all I've got. Brent, you got anything else for everybody? If we don't have any more questions, we're going to wrap it up. Anything else?
Sounds good, Lee. Good question.
All right. So, hey, listen, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give it a slap, and make sure you ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our real estate tips and tours. We have it out every single week. Brent and I are here next Wednesday to talk more about the market and give you another market update, let you know what's happening, give you our opinion on what's happening, boots on the ground. A lot of stuff going on out there. A lot of people saying a lot of things, like this guy on YouTube, a lot of craziness out there. So, you know, we're always going to be honest with you on what we actually see on a daily basis. And we're coming with facts. We're reading information, and subscribe to the best real estate and investment information that's out there. So we're always here to help you. If you have more questions or anything else, leave them in the comments section. We'll answer those, and be kind to each other. It's tough out there. We'll see you next week. Take care.
See ya.